You're listening to the Prospector podcast. Hi, and welcome to the Prospector podcast. Thanks for tuning into this, the second episode. My name is Andrew, your host and avid gold prospector based in Melbourne, Victoria. First of all, please excuse my voice. I'm still getting over a dose of man flu, so I may sound like a 15-year-old boy from time to time. Anyway, this episode, your gold hotspot is another one close to the city in comparison to, your well-known Golden Triangle fields. But it's probably not the one you think I'm going to talk about. So stay tuned for that. We'll also shout out another content creator. Research tips, we'll look at where to begin in the endless sea of information available. And then probably my favourite segment, Prospector Etiquette, aka Andrew's Rant. But first, I have to make an apology to my dear friend Mohammed. I butchered his YouTube handle last episode for creator shoutout, so I need to rectify that. So last week's shoutout goes to Gold Sluice Tinkerer. Go and like and sub on YouTube, support the community, and look, while we're there, I've got another one for this week. Let's shout out Frenchie's Prospecting on YouTube. Matt has just started with the content like myself, so jump into his channel and give him a subscribe. He's a top bloke, has a great sense of humour. His vids are well worth watching. So it's Frenchies_prospecting on YouTube. Well worth the time to say g'day. Next up, I want to mention the Creswick meetup and fundraiser for the Royal Children's Hospital. It is on the 29th of July at Campground Number 1, Creswick Regional Park. It begins at 9 a.m. There will be raffles with some awesome prizes, really, really cool prizes on the day, with proceeds going to the Children's Hospital. If anyone would like to donate to the raffle, please contact Victor at Murray Rivers Gold, or look, I guess you can email me as well, anothergoldprospector@gmail.com, and I can put you in touch with Victor. Look, guys, everyone is welcome, whether you're thinking about getting into prospecting or you're a seasoned pro. It's all about the community coming together and getting a few bucks together for a great cause. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, all the details are now on the screen. If I've worked out how to do that, that is. And if you're tuned in on a podcast app, you can find this podcast on YouTube, Another Gold Prospector. So I know it's a bit confusing. It's not under the same name, but I'm the same creator. So that's just how it worked. All I've done is fed my podcast RSS feed into YouTube, and it automatically uploads them. So that's just the way that one goes. All right, let's move on to this week's gold hotspot, or like I said last week, forgotten spot. Now, this one actually covers a massive area. It's known as the Upper Yarra Goldfields. Covers places from like Hoddles Creek, Launching Place, Woorayallick, Warburton, Reefton, McMahon's Creek, and surrounding areas. If you know the Yarra Valley at all, it's a vast bit of country. So here's some interesting kit that I found when I was brushing up on the history. I came across this article on Trove. It was dated 1863 in the Argus, and it was a letter sent from a group of miners to the governor at the time, outlining the dire, lawless state the goldfields had been left in after broken promises of police being posted between Anderson's Creek in Warrandyte and Reefton. Mining surveyor Mr. O'Shanassy, if you know the area, he has lakes and roads named after him, like O'Shanassy Reservoir, etc., had promised safe passage along the Yarra track. And nothing has been done. Therefore, rape and murder are a natural consequence of the goldfield. They go on to describe that week's murders and other violent crimes in the Upper Yarra Goldfields. So if digging holes wasn't hard enough, you had to deal with that as well. Yeah. The Upper Yarra Goldfields were opened in 1859 with the discovery of gold in Britannia Creek and the Little Yarra, followed by Hoddles Creek later that year. Within 1 year, over 500 diggers had rushed the goldfield. By 1860, so 1 year later, auriferous ground had been found around the junction of Macrae and Woorolloc creeks. And by 1863, every creek and gully out to Woods Point had been worked for gold. Yankee Jim, Big Pat's, Starvation, McMahon's Creeks, just to name a few. By 1866, there were sluicing companies, puddlers, crushing mills, plants, stamps erected throughout the goldfields, and for very good reason. It was insanely rich ground, with a reef at Reefton producing 20 ounces per tonne over a long period of time. 20 ounces per tonne. Wow. It puts into perspective the work that went into water diversion, with the big and little peninsula tunnels on the Yarra, along with many dams, providing water for the massive amounts of hydraulic sluicing too. Then everything changed in 1878 when Central Company struck a reef at 500 feet. Before long, more and more reefs were struck, and batteries and pumping and winding gear being erected all over the goldfield. And by 1855, it was a complete mess. So you think about it, you've got alluvial workings, hydraulic sluicing, water diversion diggings, and now quartz shafts being dug all over the same field. So flooding and who flooded who became a real issue. Cool heads prevailed in a lot of cases, with shaft operators paying the sluicing companies not to flood them, also using them to divert the water away from the shafts. But it wasn't always the case. One shaft at Hoddles Creek was only 80 feet deep and was crushing ore at 4 ounces a tonne when they had to close the mine due to not keeping up with the water inundation in the shaft. By 1900, only quartz mining was still in operation, with the last mine closing in 1950. Almost 100 years of solid mining in the Upper Yarra goldfields, yet it hardly gets a mention as a significant goldfield in Victoria. Wonder why? Nothing to do with the wineries there now and all the expensive property and Wagyu beef. Nothing to do with that. Greenies. I've not even scratched the surface of info and history on this goldfield. And if you think you might want to go and find some colour in the Upper Yarra, be very careful. Any tributaries of the Yarra are off limits to prospecting. Every creek in the Upper Yarra runs into the Yarra. However, if you are a reasonable human and don't leave tailings piles on the bank and leave the place in a better state than you found it, I can speak from experience that rangers will turn a blind eye to a bit of panning. Don't go taking high bankers and moving mountains and mountains of material. Even the locals don't even mind you being there if you're responsible. But I'm not endorsing prospecting in a banned area. It's up to you to know the laws in the spots you're digging. There are also some farmers with private land up there that are up for a chat. Might let you on their patch if you ask nice too. So there's a little look into the stunning Upper Yarra goldfields, another forgotten goldfield of Victoria. All right, let's look at research tip for the week. And if you don't do this now, you will thank me later. Folders. They will become your best friend when it comes to researching goldfields. Folders. You can drop trove articles in them. Old gold maps, new gold maps, notes on your visits, geo reports, even survey reports. Oh, I might have said too much there. I'm giving away my secrets on what I research. But anyway, folders. You can group them however you like. Either way, you can do it by name, by goldfield, by closest town, by creek name. It doesn't matter. As long as you have folders in your folders, you can find the things that you've been hard at work trying to find. Better than a dog vomit all over your desktop of files that you've got no clue what they do, what they say, what they mean. It's going to make your life a lot easier. We're going to get into how to fill those folders in the coming weeks, but that's this week's research tip. Folders. Now, the segment that ruffles feathers. Prospector etiquette. This one only applies to a few. And that's find your own gold. You'll never find gold worth digging Otherwise, you'll never find gold worth digging. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, if you were watching a prospector that is willing to document their gold adventure, and they happen to mention where they are, don't spend the next 3 weeks digging the living shit out of the place, making a goddamn awful mess for the sake of a few colours. You're only embarrassing yourself. It's not something that happens. It's not something that's happened to me, just to make that clear. It's not me, but I know it does happen to a lot of prospectors. And I'm not talking about, just saying I'm at certain gully or I'm at certain creek. I mean, you're at the exact bend, the exact crevice, digging it till there's no bloody dirt left. There's no skill in digging gold that someone else has shown you where it is. It might be easy gold, but it's tainted with the fact that you didn't find it. Bad etiquette. You know who you are, and so do a lot of the locals to the creek in question. Yeah, grr, I feel tough now. Guys, I've had a few people reach out wanting to come on the podcast, which is amazing, and we'll get them on as soon as we can. And please, if you want to be a part of the podcast in any way, you can email me with the email address that's in the description. I'm not going to read it out again. Also, if you'd like to post this podcast on your YouTube or your platform, feel free to use the RSS feed. People that know what an RSS feed will know how to use it. They'll know what it is. I've taken all the copyrights off it, so you can host it as your content if you wish. It does not bother me. The music at the start is not copywritten, so you won't get any strikes. But feel free to stick it up on your YouTube channels, whatever. It's it's out there just to be heard. It's not. It doesn't. I'm not making anything out of it. It's got no bearing on that. It's just info and a bit of fun and something for the community to have a listen to. So feel free to put it up on your platforms as you wish. Don't forget the old like and add buttons. Also share it with your prospecting posse. Another sort of short one, mainly because I'm not too sure how much longer my voice will hold out. But won't be long. We're going to have some guests on, and we can get some in-depth looks at a few other things as well. So share it with your, like I said, share it with your prospecting posse. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, talk soon.